Hello everybody, Joshua back here again with another video, and I'm here with another top 5 list. Yes, it's that time of the week again, so let's get into this week's top 5 list. Now, of course, it's been a while since I've done a top 5 list in a while. I don't want to say in a long time. It's been definitely, a week or so, couple weeks. Definitely 2 weeks ago since the last time I've done a top 5 list, and there's good reasoning behind that, which is time restraints. However, those time restraints are now gone, and now I can focus on top fives again. Now, this week was supposed to be the closure, the ending of my little Disney Channel original movies top fives that I've been doing from the 90s to the late 2000s, leading up into the latest Disney Channel films. But then, once I finished off my last top five of DCOM films, between the years of 2003 and 2005, I came to a very surprising realization. And that surprising realization is the fact that I actually give two shits about any Disney Channel film post High School Musical. I don't like any of them. And I haven't really watched any of them. So I decided to cancel that. Maybe I'll revisit it later this year before the end of the year. But for the most part, I'm going to leave it at that. It's going to be from the 90s leading up to 2005 because, let's face facts, after High School Musical, Disney Channel movies just became shitboxes and, just dedicated to can you act and sing and look like you're 18 in this film? Sure, go ahead. There's the next Nick Jonas. There's the next Demi Lovato. Okay, whatever. So that's pretty much the end for my Disney Channel top fives. But for the most part, I decided to create a completely new top 5 list right on the spot, as I usually do, and of course dedicated to MCU love interest. Yes, Marvel Cinematic Universe love interest. Now, this is an idea that spawned over my Zendaya Mary Jane Watson video, which of course has gotten mixed reactions from some people. Some people like my opinion, other people hate my opinion. I feel like it's the most trending topic when it comes to comic book geeks as of late, which is, are you a racist or are you a white knight? For me personally, I give two shits. I'm not a racist, nor am I a white knight. The only reason I made that video in the first place was mostly due to the fact that I wanted a platform and a reason to talk about my overly obsessive interest in white red hair girls. I don't know, like white women who are redheads. I don't know, I just have an obsession with that, so I decided to make a video discussing that in a comedic twist with the Zendaya controversy, but, apparently some people didn't really like it or found it funny, but who gives a shit? It is what it is. My opinion, what are you going to do? But with that being said and done, during the process of making that video, before and after, the idea spawned in my head, which is, okay, let's say for devil's advocate, for anybody who cares, if Zendaya does end up playing Michelle or Mary Jane Watson or whatever character she ends up being, the love interest to Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming, the upcoming Phase 3 MCU film, does it really matter? Does it really have any kind of holding on water? Does it have any weight or depth to it? Not really, because when you think about it realistically, a lot like Marvel villains, Marvel love interests really don't have any kind of room or depth or character development or any kind of specific journey or hero arc in this son of a bitch of a cinematic universe. And that's not me trying to bash Marvel. I still love Marvel and the cinematic universe, but for the most part, most Marvel cinematic universe love interests, a lot like the main supervillain of said film, kind of are like whatever. They're just there just to be there. And I feel like that could have been an interesting top 5, which is what I'm doing for this week, and of course for the following weeks, which is my top 5 worst MCU love interests. Now, of course, next time I'll do my top 5 best MCU love interests, but for the most part, let's focus on the worst of the worst. Now, for this specific top 5 list, I'll be focusing on actresses and or actors who have played a supposed supportive love interest character archetype for the main superhero of said MCU film. And for me personally, these are the actresses that I think are the worst, and I think didn't really have any kind of weight or add anything to their respected heroes that they're supporting. and anchoring for the most part in their MCU universe. And for the most part, I do have a specific criteria, which is I will specifically be choosing characters and love interests and supporting characters from the MCU, specifically no outside Marvel films, but the entire MCU, which will focus on the TV shows rather, the movies, and of course the Netflix series. But with that being said and done, let's get into this top 5 list. Now, coming at number 5 has to go to the character of Laura Barton. Now, Laura Barton is the wife of Hawkeye in the MCU. She was introduced in Age of Ultron, and for me personally, I love the actress of Linda Cardellini. I think she's fucking awesome. I've loved her ever since Freaks and Geeks. I think she's phenomenal. However, I do not give two shits about her in the MCU, nor do I feel like she adds anything in Age of Ultron. When Joss Whedon went into Age of Ultron, his main focus was, we need to give some fucking character development and interesting stories to Hawkeye, because Hawkeye is pretty much the most useless and pointless character in the Avengers verse. A lot of people don't care about him. A lot of people feel like he's the most average and useless Avenger. And for me personally, I do give Joss Whedon a lot of credit for trying to give Hawkeye a lot more development in the MCU. And I feel like we're starting to get there where Hawkeye's actually starting to become a more interesting character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But for the most part, Age of Ultron in general is definitely not my favorite film in the MCU. And this kind of adds to it. Hawkeye, not my favorite Avenger. I never was a gigantic fan of his comic book character, nor his presence in the MCU, other than just being the cool guy who shoots arrows. And him having some form of relationship with Linda's character, Laura, and this secretive wife/family that he has in the sidelines when he's doing Avenger work, just feels like complete left field half-assery, and I just did not care or have any interest in Age of Ultron. Kudos for Joss Whedon for trying to get us to be interested in Hawkeye. It's cool for him to have a family, and there's nothing wrong with the simplicity of a woman who wants to just be a homemaker. There's nothing wrong with that, but at the end of the day, it doesn't add anything to the MCU, it didn't add anything to Age of Ultron, and it didn't really change my opinion on the character of Hawkeye. But with that being said and done, moving off of that, going to number 4 on this list has to go to Pepper Potts. Now, Pepper Potts has been a staple within the MCU, specifically the Iron Man franchise, and I'm not gonna lie, I like Gwyneth Paltrow as an actress. She's kind of a wackadoo as a regular person in general, but for the most part, I think she killed it in the first Iron Man film, which is hands down still one of my favorite superhero films and favorite films in the MCU itself. I think she's awesome as Pepper Potts. She just was the perfect anchor for the wackadoo, over-the-top, funny, comedic guy who was not addicted to cocaine anymore. I love that dynamic. I love the fact that you had this wackadoo in a fucking Iron Man suit doing crazy stuff while you had this woman in the sidelines just going crazy after what he's going to do or what he has done. I like that dynamic. I liked what they were going for in Iron Man 1. They killed it with that storyline. And then after that, she amounted to nothingness. Her character went nowhere. She adds nothing to the MCU. Iron Man 2, she becomes a big nothing. Granted, Iron Man 2, once again, like Age of Ultron, not really my favorite movie in the MCU, but then again, she doesn't add anything to it. She gets power over Stark Industries. She's kind of somewhat in with Tony Stark, but not really. They're having some kind of weird issues or something. She's just there. She becomes a major damsel in distress. I mean, like, she's basically Lois Lane, Amy Adams' Lois Lane before Amy Adams' Lois Lane was a thing. It was just a complete nothing. And then Iron Man 3, they tried to make her more interesting, like, hey, she's in the Iron Suit too, and hey, she's got superpowers now. Just wasteful nothingness, and then her wasteful cameos in the Avengers films just continues her status of just being a big nothing who adds nothing to the Tony Stark character or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Once again, in my opinion, but she's just not that interesting. Ever since the first Iron Man, she had a lot of promise, didn't really get there. Moving off of that, and going to number 3 on this list has to go to Hope Pym from Ant-Man. Yes, Hope, played by the amazing Evangelion Lily. I don't even know how to pronounce her first name. That's how illiterate and stupid I am. But for the most part, she is awesome. She's been in a lot of really cool, awesome projects, and she's a great actress. However, Hope as the love interest slash supporting character for Ant-Man in Ant-Man is a big, worthless hunk of nothingness. Now, I like Ant-Man. I think it's a pretty good, fun, entertaining flick for kids and comic book geeks all over. However, if there's something I do have a major problem with, is the fact that Ant-Man is very tropey, it's very simplistic, it has very, very simplistic characters, and it's just completely stereotypical and just what you kind of expected from a movie of that kind of status. Even though I like it, and I think it has a lot of heart and it has a lot of interesting aspects and a lot of cards up its sleeve to give us, possibly in the sequels with Ant-Man and the Wasp. But for the most part, it is just a fun, stupid comic book movie. And Wasp slash Hope is a complete nothing of a love interest slash supporting character. No one really believes in her. I like Lily. I think she's a great actress. I think she's a badass. I think she's phenomenal and beautiful all in one. However, she just doesn't add anything into the MCU. She basically has this arc where she's trying to be the main hero of the story, but she's not. She's completely downgraded because of Ant-Man and her father's obsession with Ant-Man. And then, at the end, you have to wait till the post-credit scene for someone to give a shit about her. Her father doesn't give a shit about her. And she's trying to be the badass, but doesn't ever get there. And for fuck's sake, no one really believes in her. That's how much of a useless nothing she is. We have to wait to the sequel to see if she's worth a shit in the MCU. She's not that interesting of a love interest, and there's nothing there for her to be a supporting character slash love interest to freaking Paul Rudd's Ant-Man. She adds nothing to his character or his arc other than just being there and being somewhat of eye candy, considering the fact that her character by the end of it, when she's supposedly going to be in this, I guess, quasi-love interest story arc with Ant-Man, she just starts kissing him, and that's pretty much it. And as much as that's cool, it's like, oh, they got to be together, cool, why not? When you're a kid and you're watching that, that's fun in games, that's cool, they're nice together. However, it doesn't add anything, or is it interesting, or makes sense. It's like she's a badass, she does cool things. When she's the top tier character of her own story, her own POV story arc, she's awesome. But then the writers and creators have to have Lily just swap that, change it from being the character and badass we want her to be being, oh, can you just stop being an awesome character and make out with white guy number 30? Yes, do that, go, there you go, you became useless right the second you did that. It's like her character from Lost. It's Kate from Lost all over again. It's like she's awesome when she's her own person and she's kicking ass, and then she has to fucking make out with the white guy, the white, fucking protagonist again. Okay, sure. It's just complete nothingness. I never cared about it. I don't find it interesting. Hopefully with the sequels they do something cool with Hope being the Wasp. But for the most part, as a love interest, as a supportive anchor slash character for Ant-Man, she adds nothing, and I didn't really care for her, nor do I have any interest in them being a thing in future films. But with that being said and done, moving off that, going to number 2 on this list has to go to Betty Ross. Yes, Betty Ross, the infamous Betty Ross. Betty Ross is probably a word or a name or anything you've not heard of in a long time, considering that The Incredible Hulk is like the black sheep of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the film that we hardly ever talk about, ever hear about, or have any kind of connections with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's kind of like it's like Netflix. It's a part of it, but is it really? We kind of do our own thing, but whatever. We're it's over there. This is over here, and it's just sad and unfortunate. However, for the most part, other than the tiny little connections with Civil War, everything that's Incredible Hulk is kind of at this point retconned or completely uninteresting, or it has any kind of weight with the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that includes Betty Ross. Now, I like Liv Taylor. I think she's a good actress. I think she kind of adds things when she's in things. But for the most part, Betty Ross and The Incredible Hulk is once again a lot like the rest of the love interests in this story of just worthless, worst love interest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She doesn't add anything. She's just there to be there. She's sweet for Bruce because she has to be. She's a cliche love interest. She doesn't really do anything. For fuck's sake, not even the Marvel Cinematic Universe adds any attention to her. By the second we somewhat move on from the Incredible Hulk or retcon it, by the second Avengers, Bruce Banner's already moving on with other chicks. And now he's in fucking space hanging out with Thor. I think that's a sign that Betty Ross obviously either has no connection with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or she really was terrible or had no fucking emotional ties to Bruce Banner's real heart or even his Hulk heart. It's just sad and depressing. And as much as I have, I guess, a soft heart for Betty Ross, the character, and of course the Incredible Hulk film, she was kind of worthless. She was just there to just be there as a love interest, and she has not added anything or been approached or referenced or anything in any canon Marvel Cinematic Universe films. And that's just the cold-hearted truth. But with that being said and done, I've been rambling and talking for so long now. I'm going to be skipping the honorable mentions and getting to my number one choice, which probably won't be that big surprise, seeing as how if you know my comic book loves, you would know comic book hates. And that has to go to the Thor love interest. Yes, number one goes to Jane Foster. I mean, let's put it out there. Fucking Natalie Portman is hands down one of the best actresses working today. She is epic. She is awesome. She's good. She knows her shit. She's a destroyer when she's acting. However, I don't like Thor. I never liked Thor. I was never interested in Thor comics. However, I do like the first Thor. I will admit, I think it's actually, as much as I didn't want to watch it for many years after its release, or have any interest in the character before and after that first Thor film, I actually liked it for what it was. I thought it was a pretty cool fish out of water story, and a really cool, interesting, I guess, light on the Thor character. And I think Chris Hemsworth is a pretty funny jughead of a fucking superhero character. I think he's done a great job for himself in the MCU. I still don't like Thor the character, nor his comic book series, but for the most part, I like that first Thor. However, if there's something I've learned over the years of watching Natalie Portman in films, she's not really that great of a love interest. She isn't. She's not that great. If she's the top tier, top billing fucking character in a movie, she's great. She's phenomenal. She's probably going to win some fucking Academy Awards and Oscars. However, when she's degraded as a supporting character, and especially as a love interest, she sucks ass. Because her character as Jane Foster is very much just a stale character. She's just there just to be there. She's just a cute, lovable, funny, cute girl for Thor to, goggle all over at the end, because you gotta have that in a superhero film. God forbid if you have to have some form of, the good looking guy's gotta have this good looking chick by the end of the film. Come on, folks. And that's basically the Natalie Portman, Chris Hemsworth debacle with Thor. And she doesn't really add anything to the universe. She's not really that great of an anchor for the Thor character. I mean, I will admit that she is there. I think she's better as a friend, more or less as an actual love interest / supporting character for Thor. And the fact that they pushed her as much as they did, especially with Thor the Dark World, it's just one of those things where you just have to step back and be like, really, why we waste so much time on that character? I will admit, though, even though I may not love Natalie Portman's Jane Foster character in Thor movies, and based off the current status of Thor Ragnarok, she's probably not going to be back for more MCU movies as is, I will admit that if you haven't seen the female Thor series in Marvel Comics, Jane Foster as Thor in the comic books, it's pretty badass, and you should start buying and reading them, because I recently got into the new Thor, Jane Foster as the new Thor, and it's pretty freaking phenomenal. I actually, surprisingly enough, I hate the character of Thor, but when Thor is not actually being Thor, it's fucking a good comic book series. I don't know why. I guess that's just me being an asshole, but I don't know. I like Jane Foster as Thor. Maybe they should do that in the future MCU films. Make Natalie Portman Thor, and then I will love the Thor films and love her as a character, because she'll stop being a stupid love interest supporting act. But with that being said and done, that's been my top 5 worst list of the worst MCU love interest / supporting characters. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next time I'll be doing my top 5 best of the best love interest in the MCU. but this time it was the worst. Hopefully you enjoyed. Once again, as always, my top 5 lists are subjective. It's my personal list, my personal thoughts. So, of course, if you agreed or disagreed, please comment below and let me know what your personal list is of the top 5 worst and or best love interest in the MCU. But with that being said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed. Shameless plug time. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh12. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. And hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been Josh12.